Hello, people of the internet. So, in an unfortunate change of events, we're going to be working on the Volvo today, and we're going to be doing a cylinder leak down test. And we're going to use my fancy cylinder leak down test tool, and we're going to try to do this in kind of a how-to video, how to use the cylinder leak down test. So, it just out of the blue, the car went from running great, having some issues, starting to spew a lot of smoke out of it. I found my igniter had failed, replaced the igniter, and continued having some issues. I've gone through all the mechanical checks that I can. Turbo is relatively new, and the turbine is nice and tight. Doesn't move in or out, doesn't move wobbly. I do have oil coming out of the wastegate actuator port on the compressor side of the turbo. I have oil pooling in my intercooler lines. I now, under boost load, like not an idle really, but under boost load, I now have smoke pouring out the back. I did a compression test, and the compression test came up even but low. It was 145 psi across all four cylinders, which even is good, but low not so good. It's not it's not terrible compression at 145, considering this has a little over 200,000 miles on it, but it is a worn engine. So I figure cylinder leak down test will be next. Now, ideally, you would want to do both of these tests, the compression test and the cylinder leak down test, with a hot engine. You want it to be at operating temperature, and then turn it off. Get it to operating temperature, let it run for a few minutes, turn it off, and then start doing all your tests, because you want that oil splash on the cylinder walls. You want the rings to have heated up and do whatever they are going to do. You just want those things. Those are ideal conditions. So if you're doing a cylinder leak down test at home, heat up the engine, work on it while it's warm. I know it's uncomfortable, it sucks, but do that. Me, I'm not. This engine hasn't ran in like a day and a half since the last time I tested some stuff on it, and I'm just doing a leak down test cold on there. And mainly because I'm already pretty sure that I know it's the rings are bad, and I'm doing this more for my own peace of mind, and I figured it might make interesting YouTube content. So what you need shop air, you need a tester, you need an engine. Yeah, let's rearrange the camera and see what we got. My leak down tester is OTC. They're fairly reasonable price, and I really like OTC shop tools. It gives you a cheat gauge on here, 100 psi versus your leak. Gives you your percentage differentials, 90 psi, 75 psi, and at the bottom it tells you your percentage of leakage. That's kind of what you need to know. And the more it leaks, the worse everything is. You want all the spark plugs out, obviously, because you got to get down into the spark plug holes. Free yourself up enough space so you know where everything is and you have access to things. You're also going to want to listen for air leaks. It's raining outside, so it's, today's not the greatest day, but it's the day I got. I am also going to do this without the valve cover. You do not need to take the valve cover off to do a cylinder leak down test. I have an IPD Volvo Performance Turbo Cam in there that came with the car. I installed it when I got the car, and some of these camshafts have been known to eat themselves. So I figure I'll just go ahead and I'll do a visual inspection on the camshaft while I'm right here. It's not, wasn't anything super extra. You're going to want to make sure that as you're doing this, I'm trying to set the valve cover down without dropping it all over the place. Let's see. So while you're doing this, you want to make sure that as you go, each cylinder, you're going to want to bring it up top dead center on the compression stroke. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. You're just going to want to bring it up top dead center. You want both valves closed. You want the piston as far up in the chamber as you can get it. I do mine. Well, I do mine either. In this case, I'll do them all in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I'm working on a V engine, I'll usually do one bank and then the other bank. But you know, I've known guys that do firing order, and that part doesn't really. The order you would do it in doesn't really matter. Want this cap off so that you can check for bubbles. If you got a blown head gasket, it'll on the coolant side, it'll bubble up through there. Let's see, I've got the CCV oil catch can system already removed because I was checking that for obstructions. You get a lot of blow by if your your crankcase ventilation is messed up. You can it can cause the same issue. It'll prevent the oil from draining properly from the turbo, which will cause it to throw out the compressor side. It'll also throw out the exhaust side. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything. Then grab a ratchet. I'm gonna bring number 1 up. Make sure the valves are closed. Already got the compressor running, and we'll come back in a minute and go from there. Okay, and you can set up how to find TDC, or you know, bringing a piston all the way up in the chamber however you want. I chose my handy dandy bore scope, and I really wish this thing had a an AC plug option, or it was a rechargeable battery and not 6 AA batteries. Hopefully in the newer iterations of these snap-on bore scopes they went to something a little bit better. Batteries are always dead, even though I take them out, and then you got to find batteries. You know how it is. Okay, so I brought everything up. I've watched it. We're at the highest point in the cylinder. So now you take your lead hose, and these do come with adapters. So if you don't have a standard 14 millimeter thread end on it, you know, they adapt to different sizes. I would be careful using the adapters. I've seen people drop them and lose them. You know, they get stuck down in the cylinders, especially in like hemispherical head style where the plug goes straight down through. So just be mindful of that. So far, the 2 cam lobes on this camshaft look pretty good. They haven't eaten themselves, so that's a good start. I'll take it. Now, you know, it's like a compression test. You thread your lead hose in, hook it into your gauge. Now, this may get loud. Let me see. I'm going to try to move it over here a little bit. Let me see. It's what it is. Okay, so shop air in. Can I crank it? Will it move? There we go. Let's bring shop air up. We want somewhere in the 90 to 100 psi ballpark. Let's see. Crank it to 11. Lock it back in place. And we're sitting at 70. And I can hear air. I can hear air. Let's see here. Oh yeah. Let me see if I can get the camera over here. So this hose goes back to the block. This is the primary crankcase hose. I don't know. You know, it would help if I knew where my microphone was. But even if the microphone doesn't pick it up, believe me, I can hear air rushing out of this tube. So that right there tells us, you know, pretty much all we need to know. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do all 4 of them because maybe it's just one cylinder. I don't know. And yeah, I'll do all 4. I'll write down my numbers. You want to do that too. Hold on. You also want to do that. Keep track of the numbers. When you're doing compression tests, you're doing these, cylinder 1, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, do it however you need to do it. And, make sure that you keep track of the numbers. When you're doing wet and dry tests on compression, make sure you distinguish between this is my dry reading, this is my wet reading. In a lot of these cases, it doesn't always make a difference if you turning the air off. No, I'm not. Two-handed job. Messed up my arm. It's not working right. But you want to take notes of when you make changes, how you make changes, what order you're doing things in, blah blah blah. Do that. So that's what you get. Turning the camera like you can see. So yeah, that's what you get, and you can see it's already come down as I've left it. It's dropped from 70 down to almost 60. Well, I'm losing air pressure. That's what it is. My compressor hasn't kicked back in to pump up. So that's why it changed, and that's why you have these percentage differences in here to let you know what's where. Percentage of leakage and things like that. So I'm down, I got like a 30% loss. So that's what it is. Let me get doing the rest of these, get the compressor built back up, and we'll come back. Okay, so one of the things that I really like about using a bore scope, finding TDCs and things like that, is it gives you a good idea of what's going on inside the cylinder. You can look at everything. Like, you can see there, this is cylinder number 1. And yeah, there's deposits and stuff built up, but it doesn't seem to have any like burn spots. The edges of the pistons aren't completely, missing and gone. I know it doesn't come through the screen probably where the crap. But it is something that I like to talk about, and it is a useful tool. You can kind of see there, see those, that's the cross hatching in the cylinder. I don't know, maybe this isn't the nicest bore scope ever, but you know what, it works for me. So yeah, let's look at the results of this. We got 70 on cylinder 1, which is a 30% drop. 75 on cylinder 2, which is 25% drop. 78 on cylinder 3, which is 22% drop. And then the winner is cylinder 4 that had a 7% drop. Cylinder 4 is good. Hold on. So yeah, cylinder 4 is actually good. 1 out of 4, not good. Meatloaf couldn't even save that one. Nope. Because 2 out of 3 ain't bad. 1 out of 4 sucks. Yeah, so now that does suck. I wasn't expecting to rebuild the Volvo engine. I'm still on the fence about whether or not I want to rebuild or engine swap it. It's all the stuff I want to engine swap. I don't know. It's not in the budget. And being out here, I just don't have access to dynos. So if I'm, it's an hour and a half, 2 hours away for dyno shop, plus you're paying for time to tune standalone management, things like that. And that racks up quick. I got other things going on in life. I got other things to do. I think the next step on this is going to be to pull the cylinder head and do a physical inspection of the cylinder walls with the pistons still in. That'll give me a good idea where to go. I've been researching engine parts for this, and they're starting to kind of dwindle, at least stateside. And I guess you guys in Europe probably have a little bit better options than we do. IPD does still sell Volvo piston rings, like OEM Volvo piston rings for a reasonable price. And yeah, so it'll be pull the cylinder head, check to see if the bores are so wore out that it's got to be bored over, because if it's going to require machine work, then it's definitely a full stop, back up and regroup. So I don't know, but yes, that's how you get depressed on a Friday morning No, I knew that engine was going bad. It's fine. But that is how you use a cylinder leak down test. Again, you really want it to be warm. Doing it cold will skew your numbers. It will drive your numbers down. But with as bad as those numbers were, doing it warm wasn't going to drive them up enough to make a good engine out of it. But yes, take your time to listen. Take your time to verify where you're finding those noises, because when you're doing this, like I heard it out of the crankcase every single time, never came out of anywhere else. It was only out of the crankcase that I could hear the air bleed off. That's rings. That's forcing air down the cylinder into it. You're hearing it coming out of the exhaust. That's probably a bad exhaust valve. You're hearing it coming out, or valve seat, valve, whatever, but it's in the valve train. Same with intake. Hearing it coming out of the intake, it's valve related. It's not pushing it down the cylinder and back up into the intake. So yeah, that's how you do it. The OTC tool works great. They're relatively inexpensive. They're damn near what it costs to buy a Harbor Freight one. So just buy the OTC one. It's better. It's better. I like Harbor Freight, but buy the OTC tool. Other than that, get out, have fun, have a nice day.